was 2018, 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. With rage and despair rocking Israel, the anger on the ground is palpable. The question is, will this protest bring down the Prime Minister of Israel? What next for Benjamin Netanyahu? That's our top focus tonight, and here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show. We tell you all about China's big headache, also a big embarrassment for the country. Shooting at drone swarms is something that the Chinese PLA is struggling with. We get you the complete story. We tell you all about Ukraine's big nightmare in Kharkiv and why a big question is looming large. Will Moscow change its nuclear doctrine? And what would that mean? We tell you the story of Indian Paralympian Sheetal Devi, who is winning hearts with her bullseye shot. All this and more coming up. top story tonight is about Israel. Its citizens are frustrated, they are furious, and they want Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu out. What triggered the latest wave of protests against him, you're asking? The bitter news that came on the 1st of September. Not only were 6 Israeli hostages in Gaza found dead, all 6 were killed just hours before Israeli soldiers found their bodies. Each died by multiple gunshot wounds to the head. And as the news came about their gruesome killing, the response from many Israelis was spontaneous and widespread. Anger towards Netanyahu, who has been accused of stalling efforts to secure a hostage deal, shot up on Sunday. And how? Nearly 500,000 Israeli citizens took to the streets, protesting on bridges, blocking highways, and marching through cities across the country. Israel's largest labor union called for a general strike on Monday, in fact, and threatened to shut down the entire Israeli economy. By Monday morning, the strike was extended by Israeli workers and civil aviation companies. Angry citizens hit the streets, demanding an immediate deal to free the remaining hostages in Hamas captivity. It is the largest protest in Israel since the Gaza war started. And as the protests continue to rage, someone painted Netanyahu is a murderer, quote unquote, on one of the Prime Minister's cars. The Israelis blame Netanyahu, remember, for the deaths of the hostages. You see, while most of the world is talking about the massive death toll among the Palestinians in Gaza, Israelis are focused on the fate of the hostages taken by Hamas on the 7th of October. Scores of the captives have been recovered in a prisoner exchange earlier, a few more during rescue operations. But some 100 remain in Gaza, as per reports. And Israeli authorities believe that a third of the hostages could be dead. Now, the discovery of the 6 hostage bodies has thrown negotiations for a ceasefire deal into question. There has been skepticism over Netanyahu's willingness to strike a deal, given the fierce opposition from the far-right ministers in his coalition government. And you see, the Israeli Prime Minister's political future depends largely on his far-right partners. Several of them, by the way, have already threatened to leave his government if he agrees to the deal. Just to put this simply, if they leave, Netanyahu's government collapses. As it is, during a cabinet meeting on Sunday, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant lambasted the Israeli government for what he said was prioritizing control of a key border area known as the Philadelphia corridor over a deal to free the hostages. In fact, Gallant called it a moral disgrace. Just a quick recap here. In the original Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deals proposal that was floated by US President Joe Biden in the month of May, Netanyahu demanded that Israel will retain the control of the Philadelphia corridor. It is a 13 to 14 kilometers strip of land along the Gaza-Egypt border. It is currently controlled by the IDF. And that demand, you see, has become the main sticking point in reaching a deal. Hamas says that Israeli troops must withdraw from the border zone. But Netanyahu says control of the corridor is needed to prevent Hamas from resuming arms smuggling through tunnels underneath it. That's what he says. And in all of this, Gallant, who has increasingly found himself isolated within Netanyahu's cabinet on the issue of a hostage deal, warned his colleagues that if the government continues on this path, it will not manage to achieve any goals. In fact, he said, and I'm quoting now, "If we want the hostages alive, we do not have time." The discovery of the hostage bodies has also sparked criticism of the Biden administration's Gaza ceasefire strategy. Speaking to reporters on Monday, US President Joe Biden was asked whether he thought Netanyahu was doing enough to secure a hostage deal. Biden said no. Listen in.
Mr. President, if you think it's time for Prime Minister Netanyahu to do more on this issue, do you think he's doing enough?
No.
Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were due on Monday to meet with the U.S. hostage deal negotiating team to discuss the efforts towards an agreement for the release of the remaining captives. How will the killing of these hostages affect the ceasefire discussions? It's too soon to say. The impact will likely be seen in a day or two, but as of now, the situation is complicated to say the least. Currently, there are no in-person joint negotiations with the parties, but discussions continue through the regular channels. But you see, the recent deaths of the 6 hostages exposes a deep division in the Israeli society. It shows the rift between those who prefer to continue the war in Gaza and those who believe the government has a moral duty to first and foremost bring the Israeli hostages home. Yes, they want Hamas crushed, but they also believe that the risk to the lives of the hostages is not worth it. In fact, they blame one person, Netanyahu. They believe he has neglected them for far too long. They say that the 6 hostages could have been saved had the Israeli forces reached them sooner. They would have been brought back home, been with their families, had Netanyahu agreed to a deal. They would have been safe had Netanyahu not allowed the massive intel failure that led to the Hamas attack on the 7th of October. On the streets, this sentiment is the most palpable. In Tel Aviv, some 300,000 people reportedly came out to protest carrying 6 symbolic coffins. They blocked the highway. They lit a bonfire. But their demonstration was met with police action, who threw stun grenades and blasted water cannons at the protesters, detaining 29 of them as per reports. In Jerusalem, thousands shouted and blew whistles outside the Prime Minister's office. Across Israel, the citizens have only one demand. We will not give this government a moment of quiet until all the hostages are released, quote unquote. And so as rage and despair rock Israel, will this people-led movement bring Netanyahu down? We will have to wait and watch. Is India ready for drone warfare? There was an attack in Manipur over the weekend. Reports say 2 people were killed and at least 10 others were injured. Among them was a journalist and 2 police personnel. Militants in Manipur used drones to drop bombs. This happened in the Kutruk village in Imphal West district. At least 7 drones were reportedly used for the attack. This is a first for Manipur, which has been battling ethnic violence for over a year now. The clashes have killed over 220 people, but none of these deaths were the result of the use of drones. Following the drone attack, Manipur police said, and I'm quoting here, while drone bombs have commonly been used in general warfare, this recent deployment of drones to deploy explosives against security forces and civilians marks a significant escalation. The involvement of highly trained professionals, possibly with technical expertise and support, cannot be ruled out, quote unquote. This is indeed quite a huge escalation. It is also a frightening one. You see, for the longest time, when speaking about the use of drones, we would probably think about Ukraine, possibly Gaza. In the year 2023, India's border security force shot down 125 drones from Pakistan. A lot of these drones were recovered from Tarn and Amritsar, which is all of 32 kilometers from the Wagah border. Pakistan often uses drones to smuggle drugs, arms, fake currency into India. This year alone, at least 125 Pakistani drones flew into India between January and July. Meanwhile, in the western border, DJI Mavic 3 classic drones are mostly used to smuggle heroin, opium, light weapons. What drones did the militants in Manipur use? We don't know yet. Where did they even get the drones from? Sure, we've seen drones flying in Manipur too, but until now, they were not weapons. Drones were first used by vloggers, YouTubers, citizen journalists to add an edge to their content, then by opposing sides to spot enemy locations. But now you have militants within India using drones. Where are they getting these drones from? You see, drones are easily available. You can order one online or buy it in person from a store. While India has placed a ban on the import of China-made drones, they too are easily available in the black market. Weaponizing a recreational drone is not all that difficult. We have, after all, seen recreational drones being modified in thousands in Ukraine. In Myanmar, insurgents have used drones to target Myanmar's junta. Is that where the drones are coming from? Again, we don't know. But what is known is that the weaponization of drones in Manipur is a scary turn of events. It gets scarier if some reports are right about the possibility of militants using drones to fire rockets. So what does this mean for India when militants in the country start using drones reportedly to fire RPGs? Is it time to rethink certain aspects of the anti-drone tactics in the domestic security apparatus? By the way, the Indian military has already inducted laser-based integrated drone detection and interdiction systems, or what's called the IDD and IS, designed by India's Defence Research and Development Organisation and Bharat Electronics Limited. The IDD and IS can detect, jam, and destroy enemy drones within a range of 5 to 8 kilometers. The system is basically aimed at safeguarding India's LAC, or line of actual control, with China. Perhaps security agencies will also look at installing similar systems in conflict zones within India as well, along with increasing aerial surveillance. Speaking of which, when I mention drone warfare, which country comes to your mind? If China was on your mind, reconsider that. The communist regime may want you to believe that China is leading the race to develop and export combat drones, but that may not necessarily be true. The Chinese military has found a weak spot in drone swarms. You heard that right. It seems that small drones designed to operate together as robotic swarms could prove to be China's Achilles heel. Before we go any further, here's what you need to know about swarm drones. Swarm drones are multiple unmanned aerial flying platforms integrated as a single networked system, self-contained for communication, reconnaissance, and weapons to strike an enemy target. They can circle over targets, carry out coordinated reconnaissance, surveillance, and launch strikes. They are capable of surveillance as well as attack missions. Drone swarms can vary in size, ranging from a few to hundreds to thousands of units. They are basically designed to operate autonomously without direct human control. How exactly? Through algorithms. Algorithms that allow the drones to learn, adapt, and make autonomous decisions based on input data. According to reports, the Chinese military, which has been testing its capabilities to counter enemy drone swarm attacks, has admitted that accurately hitting the small targets may prove to be difficult. A first round of anti-aircraft artillery launched against a drone swarm during a recent PLA training exercise achieved only 40% damage. How do we know that? From China's state broadcaster CCTV itself. According to the PLA ground forces, 77th Group Army, shooting at drone swarms is challenging due to their speed and small size. They are able to change flight trajectories, making it easy for gunners to lose their targets. Now, this is a significant revelation because China is among the world's top military and civilian drone producers. In fact, in recent years, China has ramped up investment in the development of smarter and faster UAVs. As a result, the US, as China's main geopolitical rival, is also ramping up the delivery of drones to its military. In fact, America is also working on drone strategies to counter growing Chinese defense capabilities. You see, the PLA recently conducted an air defense training exercise to test its drone defense capabilities at different distances. The exercise helped identify issues that need to be addressed in future drills, which means that if China is able to find a cure for these weaknesses, it could become the leading military power in this next frontier of warfare. Just a quick backgrounder here. China has been developing swarm drone warfighting technology that it has been testing since the year 2017. The drones come in two types basically, fixed wing swarms and quadcopter swarms. China holds the world record in both categories, surpassing the US. As per reports, in one test in the year 2017, around 119 UAVs were tested by China, beating America's record. And a year later, in 2018, the Chinese company called Ehang demonstrated the world's largest quadcopter UAV swarms, comprising over 1,000 UAVs. Not just that, China has also recently conducted a test of stealth attack swarm tech drone. Currently, air defense guns and missiles are being used to counter the drone threat. However, they are considered to be practically ineffective against the hundreds of drones in a swarm formation. But you see, there is an area which looks most promising to counter swarm drones. It is in electronic and communication domain. Given how fast the countries are building drone and anti-drone technology, it is just a matter of time before an effective counter UAV system is developed. You see, the rising use of drones in modern warfare, as highlighted by the war in Ukraine and Gaza, shows just how drones have become a key feature of asymmetrical warfare, an integral part. The recent PLA reports indicating a growing interest in the implementation of anti-drone technologies on battlefields. How long can swarm drones just be a threat for the Chinese army remains to be seen. And moving on to Pakistan's plot to usurp India's influence in Bangladesh. You heard that right. According to Pakistani media reports, the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif recently invited former High Commissioners of Pakistan to Bangladesh, as well as other retired diplomats, for a meeting. What was the agenda of the meeting? Pakistan's strategy in response to the recent changes in Bangladesh. Let's break this down for you. Pakistani media reports say that the meeting was convened by the Prime Minister to seek inputs from retired diplomats on how to reset ties with Bangladesh. You see, when a former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, fled to India, ending her rule in Bangladesh, Pakistan saw an opening. Ties between Pakistan and Bangladesh have remained strained during Hasina's reign. The daughter of Bangladesh's founding leader has close ties with India, but now with Hasina out of the picture in Bangladesh, Pakistan seems to be working overtime to replace India's traditional influence in Bangladesh. In fact, many in Pakistan believe that Hasina's removal from office was a serious setback for India. and a chance for Pakistan to seek a turnaround in the relationship with Bangladesh. As a result, retired diplomats are making suggestions to the Shehbaz Sharif government in Pakistan. It includes a strategy paper that has been handed over to the Sharifs. It reportedly provides a roadmap on Pakistan and Bangladesh ties. The retired Pakistani diplomats believe that Pakistan must cash in on this opening, but with a careful and deft diplomacy. What does the roadmap include, you ask? The former Pakistan diplomats have reportedly advised the Shehbaz Sharif government to pursue ties with Bangladesh with a low-key approach. It includes developing close ties with the people of Bangladesh without taking any sides. According to recent reports, retired Pakistani diplomats have suggested that Pakistan should maintain an independent stance in its relationship with Bangladesh, irrespective of Bangladesh's ties with India. They acknowledged that the decline in bilateral ties with Bangladesh during Hasina's term was in part due to the failure to appoint competent foreign service officers as High Commissioner to Dhaka. And they are now urgently pushing the Shehbaz Sharif government to rectify this issue. Retired Pakistani bureaucrats are fervently urging Islamabad to treat Dhaka as a significant diplomatic station, ensuring the assignment of a highly capable diplomat to the post of High Commissioner. And it is evident, following the significant political changes in Bangladesh, Pakistan has significantly intensified its engagement with the interim government, resulting in a series of high-level meetings between officials of the Pakistan High Commission in Dhaka and members of the new regime. Notably, there have also been high-level contacts established between Pakistan and Bangladesh. Most notably, Shehbaz Sharif also spoke with the chief advisor of the Bangladesh interim government, Professor Muhammad Yunus. And this, by the way, marks the first such high-level contact between the two sides in many years. Furthermore, the foreign secretaries of Pakistan and Bangladesh held crucial discussions on the sidelines of a recent OIC conference, indicating Pakistan's attempt to try and replace India with itself in Bangladesh. Although its success remains uncertain, Islamabad is clearly aiming to usurp India's influence. A plan that is particularly bold considering Pakistan's many challenges, including political instability, law and order issues, and stagflation. Let's now shift focus to the latest on the Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine is facing a nightmare in Kharkiv following the attack on a shopping mall and events complex. Meanwhile, Russia has said Ukraine had launched one of the biggest drone attacks against it since the war started. Our next report getting you the latest from the war zone. We also tell you why a big question is being asked. Will Moscow change its nuclear doctrine? Take a look.
This is what Ukraine's northeastern city of Kharkiv looked like after missiles struck a shopping mall and events complex on Sunday. Rescue workers and volunteers were seen carrying the injured civilians to ambulances. Shattered glass and debris were strewn across the ground, and people fled to a metro station for safety. In his nightly address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that nearly 50 people had been injured in the Russian attack. Earlier in the day, Russia said Kyiv had launched one of the biggest drone attacks against it since the war began, targeting power plants and an oil refinery. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, 158 Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles were destroyed and intercepted by on-duty air defense overnight in 15 regions, including over the capital. Also on Sunday, Regional Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said that Ukrainian forces shelled Russia's southern Belgorod region, injuring 11 people. On Monday was the first day back at school for many children in Ukraine. Loud explosions rocked the capital, Kyiv, as a barrage of missiles sparked fires and damaged homes and infrastructure. Air defense missiles blasted off skyward to intercept targets. The Air Force said it had destroyed 22 out of 35 missiles and 20 out of 23 attack drones. The first day of school holds a lot of significance, with parents buying large bouquets of flowers for their young children to mark the occasion. But the day did not go as planned. The Kharkiv attack has prompted Zelensky to renew calls on allies to allow Kyiv to fire Western-supplied missiles deeper into enemy territory and reduce the military threat posed by Russia. Kyiv's allies are wary of how Russian President Vladimir Putin would respond if their weapons were used against targets far inside Russian territory. Meanwhile, Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov has said Moscow would change its nuclear doctrine in response to the West's actions over the conflict, without specifying what the changes would entail. Russia's existing nuclear doctrine was set out in a decree by President Vladimir Putin in 2020. It says it may use nuclear weapons in the event of a nuclear attack by an enemy or a conventional attack that threatens the existence of the state. In eastern Ukraine, Russian forces have continued to advance towards Pokrovsk, which is a vital military hub and transport link to towns and cities further north. Ukrainian officials have said at least 3 people were killed and 9 wounded in Russian shelling of Kurakov, which is a town around 35 kilometers south of Pokrovsk. In fact, according to Ukraine's army chief, the situation around Russia's main line of attack in eastern Ukraine is difficult. The stakes are high as they could ever be. Which way will things go? With the war dragging on since 2022, what lies ahead?
Pope Francis has embarked on his longest diplomatic tour. At 5:15 local time this evening, Pope Francis departed from Rome for his tour of Asia. Over the next 11 days, Pope Francis will be visiting Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Timor-Leste and Singapore. This will be the longest time Pope Francis will be spending outside the Vatican. The trip involves some 43 hours of flight time. It covers a distance of nearly 32,000 kilometers. It's actually quite a feat for the Pope, who is recovering from bronchitis and joint pain, remember. Reports say 2 nurses and a doctor will be traveling with the Pope. Also, in a first, the Pope's secretaries will be coming along as well. First, the Pope will land in Indonesia, where he will also be meeting the Indonesian president. The Pope will be in Indonesia till Friday, and then he will head to Papua New Guinea, where he will be spending 3 days. He will be meeting the Prime Minister before heading to Timor-Leste, followed by Singapore, where several engagements and meetings with heads of states are lined up. It's a long, strenuous and extremely busy itinerary. We will get to the details of it as and when the action starts unfolding. But at this point, let's just focus on a stop that is visibly missing from the Pope's itinerary: Hong Kong. Why is the Pope not stopping by Hong Kong? as far as this visit is concerned? The theme of the Asia tour is inter-religious harmony. The Vatican says the Pope will be spreading the message of peace. He wants to meet the Catholics of the world's most populous Muslim nation. He wants to meet the Catholics of East Timor, where sex abuse scandals have compromised the church's credibility. What about the Catholics of Hong Kong? They have been through a lot. They have been suffering under increasing Chinese influence. Why is the Pope not meeting the people of Hong Kong? According to the Vatican, the Pope hopes to extend his outreach to what he calls the peripheries, those who have been neglected. But that is exactly why Hong Kong perfectly qualifies as a stop. Except the Pope will not be landing there. And why do you think that is? The people of Hong Kong have been crying for the Pope's attention for years now. In fact, in 2019, when protests broke out in Hong Kong, Catholic students wrote to the Pope requesting his support. But Pope Francis steered clear of condemning China. For months, churches across Hong Kong would close their mass to the tune of the unofficial anthem of the pro-democracy movement. Churchgoers would sing "Glory to Hong Kong," but the Vatican did not come to their support. In November 2019, the Pope did take a trip to Asia, but he did not stop in Hong Kong. Instead, the Pope sent telegrams to the heads of the state of the countries whose airspace he entered. A telegram was sent to the then Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam. But in his letter, the Pope made no mention of the protest. And what's more, in his telegram, the Pope referred to Hong Kong as the nation of China. Don't you think this is all too unusual for Pope Francis, given that he is quite vocal about global issues? The Pope, after all, has spoken about the war in Gaza. He has spoken about the war in Ukraine. The Pope speaks about climate change. He speaks about poverty, migration. He has mentioned the Rohingyas, but he rarely talks about Chinese atrocities in Xinjiang or about Hong Kong. And why do you think that is? Because of a secret deal that the Pope has signed with China. You see, for the longest time, the church in China was divided into two. One was the official church that was under the strict observation of the Chinese official, and then you had the underground church, which was in union with Rome. In 2018, the Pope signed a secret deal with China. This deal was around the appointment of bishops. The details have not been made public, but broadly, it allows the Vatican to choose from a list of candidates that is put forward by the government officials. The deal was for a period of 2 years. It has been renewed twice. But does China abide by the deal? Hardly. In November 2022, Chinese officials installed a bishop for the Diocese of Jiangxi, without the Vatican's approval and knowledge. Reports say last April, authorities in China transferred a bishop without keeping the Vatican in the loop. The deal expires in October this year. It is up for a third renewal. China may not be the most ardent follower of the clauses of the deal, but it will be extremely embarrassing for the Vatican and Pope Francis if the deal falls flat. This year, the crypto industry has invested $119 million to shape the US elections and push for pro-crypto policies. According to a study by Public Citizen, major players like Coinbase and Ripple have been at the forefront of this spending spree. Coinbase alone has contributed over $50 million to influence key races and support pro-crypto political action committees, while Ripple has added $49 million. This surge in spending follows the 2010 Citizens United decision, which led to a significant increase in independent political spending. Super political action committees dedicated to the cryptocurrency have amassed over $102 million this election cycle. This financial push aims to back candidates and policies that favor the digital asset sector. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong and Ripple President Monica Long have expressed frustration with the current US regulations, advocating for clearer rules. The The crypto industry's strategic funding is also evident in the upcoming September 13 fundraiser for the Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. The event plans to raise $100 million in crypto support for Harris's campaign. Recent surveys indicating that crypto investors are a crucial segment of the electorate. According to a study, 1 in 7 U.S. voters invested in crypto, with a notable preference for Republican candidate Donald Trump over the Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. Despite Harris's growing list of crypto supporters, data shows that crypto owners are 50% more likely to support Trump. Moving on for now, a curtain of smoke from wildfires in the Amazon rainforest is spreading across Brazil. Toxic particles smothered the capital in recent days and now have spread to Sao Paulo, possibly heading towards neighboring countries Argentina and Paraguay. There were over 28,000 fires reported in the Amazon region in August alone. This is 38% higher than the 10-year average. In the year till August, the number exceeds 50,000, the most since 2010. Blazes have been reported in the Pantanal wetlands and throughout the countryside of Sao Paulo state. The toxic smoke is currently moving south towards the state of Rio Grande do Sul and could reach as far as Paraguay and Argentina. According to reports and experts, the smoke cloud indicates that the fires are serious and spread over a large area. It's coming from the north, and experts have suggested that it is probably meeting other smoke clouds on its way, increasing the concentration of pollutants even more. Remember, higher levels of carbon dioxide lead to an increase in respiratory illnesses and cardiovascular risks. The thick smoke can also decrease visibility, affecting road traffic and airport operations. Brazil, in fact, is the world's top exporter of sugarcane, and fire in the nation's sugarcane fields is set to impact the global supply. This is the second straight year of extreme drought in Brazil. Dry, hot weather has created ideal conditions for wildfires to spread across large areas. The rainy season is not expected to begin until October, and there is no relief in sight. Conditions this month are expected to be even worse. About 167 municipalities have declared a state of emergency due to the fires. The National Meteorology Institute, known as INMET, has issued a risk warning because most of the country's federal states have dangerously low humidity. South Korean authorities have launched an investigation into the encrypted messaging app Telegram. This comes amid growing public and political concern over the spread of sexually explicit deepfake content involving South Korean women. According to local reports, the investigation into Telegram will determine whether the application has been complicit in facilitating the distribution of sexual material. South Korea is the country most targeted by deepfake pornography. The surge in deepfake pornography, where 53% of the victims featured in such content are singers and actresses from the country, has fueled outrage. This statistic was highlighted in a 2023 global report on deepfakes by the US startup Security Hero. Furthermore, the South Korean police have reported a significant rise in deepfake sex crime cases, with 297 cases handled so far this year as compared to 156 in 2021. Reportedly, the majority of victims and perpetrators in these cases are teenagers. Officials from South Korea's National Police Agency are exploring the possibility of charging secure messaging platforms with aiding and abetting crimes. The investigation into Telegram in South Korea coincides with a similar probe in France, remember, where the authorities are investigating the application's founder, Pavel Durov, for his platform's alleged connections to organized crime. In light of the escalating deepfake crisis, South Korea's media regulator has called on social media companies to more actively cooperate in the deletion and blocking of such content. Additionally, the South Korean government has announced that it plans to push for stricter laws that would criminalize the purchase or viewing of sexually exploitative deepfakes. story now from Paris that is sparking quite a debate. It's connected to the Olympics and Paralympics, but not about sports. The Paris mayor's plan to keep the Olympic rings on the Eiffel Tower as a permanent fixture has triggered a heated debate there. The 5 rings, symbolizing the Olympics, sport's grandest stage, were installed on the Eiffel Tower before the Paris Games opened on the 26th of July. The initial plan was to remove them after the Paralympics closing ceremony on the 8th of September. But on Saturday, the mayor announced her intention to make the rings a permanent fixture, a permanent feature on the Eiffel Tower. However, since the rings are too heavy, they would be replaced by a lighter version at some point. In an interview with a French newspaper, the mayor stated, and I'm quoting, "As mayor of Paris, the decision is mine and I have the IOC's agreement. So yes, the rings will stay on the Eiffel Tower." While some Parisians support the move, others, including heritage campaigners and descendants of Gustave Eiffel, are not on board. Olivier Berthelot Eiffel, Gustave Eiffel's great-great-grandson and president of the Association of Descendants of Gustave Eiffel, expressed his discontent and said, "Let the rings remain for a little longer than the Paralympic Games, why not? We have no problem with that, but the Eiffel Tower is not intended as an advertising platform." The mayor should surely have said that she wanted to keep the Olympic rings and asked for the opinion of the Paris City Council and other competent people, not that she had decided to do so, quote unquote. Meanwhile, a statement from the organization read, I'm quoting, "It does not seem appropriate to us that the Eiffel Tower, which has become the symbol of Paris, in other news, the longtime critic of the mayor and an opponent in the upcoming 2026 mayoral elections also criticized the plan. She stated on the platform X, "Before any decisions are made, it's important to respect all procedures and consultations aimed at protecting heritage." The Eiffel Tower was unveiled in 1889 for the World Fair in the French capital. Reviled by some Parisians at the time, the 324-meter tower was originally built as a temporary attraction to showcase French construction prowess, but became a working telecoms tower used for radio and TV transmissions. The Iron Lady, as it's called, has since become the capital symbol and is one of the world's top tourist attractions, with 6.3 million visitors in 2023. The world of sport throws up inspiring stories every now and then. Stories of hope, grit, determination, resilience. And there are plenty of those stories coming out of the ongoing Paris Paralympics. One such story is that of archer Sheetal Devi. She is an armless archer. And the world has been left stunned by her extraordinary skills. This is the video from the Paris Paralympics that is going viral. It has left social media swooning. Millions of hearts have been won. Sheetal is all of 17 and is the world's first female armless archer. Her unique technique has made her a sensation on the internet. Sheetal Devi hit a bullseye during her pre-quarter final match in the women's compound event, and her shot made the crowd go wild. Unfortunately for Sheetal, she lost that match by just 1 point, but the video has made the world sit up and take notice. France and Barcelona footballer Jules Koundé, former Indian cricketer Harbhajan Singh, even Eric Solheim, Ukraine's former environment minister, have all lauded Sheetal for her talent and determination. Sheetal's campaign in the individual event might be over, but she can still win a medal in the mixed team event for India. She had already created history during the individual ranking round of the Paralympics by scoring a total of 703 points for a world record. Sheetal's record was eventually broken, but one thing is for sure, the teenager has made her mark at the global stage. And how? Sheetal's story is also extraordinary. She was born in Jammu and Kashmir with a rare condition under which limbs remain undeveloped. With such a condition, no one would even dream about pursuing archery. But Sheetal Devi is 1 in a billion. She has come up with a first-of-its-kind technique to shoot the arrow. She uses her foot to hold the bow and her mouth to draw the arrow. And then she uses her shoulder as a releaser, thereby forming a string mechanism for her chin to pull the trigger and launch the arrow. Sheetal's story is a testament to her remarkable spirit and validates the age-old saying, where there is a will, there is a way. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 PM IST, 1 PM GMT.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
This week on World of Africa, Chinese lenders approve $4 billion in loans to Africa in 2023, the first annual increase since 2016. Crime statistics in South Africa reveal alarming numbers. Over 6,000 people murdered between April and June this year, most of them women and children. And Morocco embraces ecotourism by offering visitors more sustainable experiences. All this and more this week on World of Africa at these times.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players. right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 PM IST, 1 PM GMT.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Beyond Pulse with me, Ananya Datta. The headlines at this hour. President Joe Biden says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not doing enough to secure a deal for the release of hostages held in Gaza by Hamas. And the US, who is close